We are now on air. Time for a total takeover.
It's finally here. Welcome to a new episode.
It's about to go down.
I'm not beaten yet. I still have armies in the Ukraine.
Yeah, the Ukraine. You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck. A road apple, Newman. The Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine.
I come from Ukraine. You not say Ukraine weak.
Yeah, well, we're playing a game here, pal.
Ukraine is came to you. How about I take your little bonus?
Yes, Ukraine is not weak. Good morning, TGIF. God bless. It's another edition of the Dan Adams Show, and it's a rainy start here in the city of Steel. And I try to bring a little bit of humor to start off the show with the famous Ukraine not weak from the ever funny, one of the best and one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, Seinfeld. And I want to go ahead and get in and talk about the Ukrainian-Russian conflict right now. And our current commander-in-chief, former Vice President Sleepy Joe Biden, is not giving any indication or not letting the world know that we are a superpower, that we are the leading military across the globe, that we can show peace through strength, that we can ultimately deter Vladimir Putin's goals of taking over the Ukraine. And just by the words of his own administration and the words of the current commander-in-chief, former Vice President Sleepy Joe Biden, that they're not on the same page. You got on Sunday shows people from his administration saying, yes, these sanctions are willing, we want these to deter him. But yesterday he says, no, everyone knew that these sanctions weren't going to deter him. I'm thinking to myself, really? So why are you putting them in place if you know or you feel they're not going to do anything? That's my number one question. Why sanction when you feel it's not going to do anything? And the sanctions that they're putting forth absolutely won't do anything. And from what I'm hearing in regards to trying to remove Russia from SWIFT and NATO and EU allies not on board with it, so what? Well, guess what Trump did in regards to Russia and North Korea and China and those who try to step up to the plate in regards to global aggression? He didn't need approval from EU, NATO, and the like to remove, or I should say, put in place sanctions and deregulation in regards to those geopolitical foes and stopping them and deterring them. Well, point blank, he told Putin to his face, Trump did, that you're not going to do this. It ain't going to happen under my watch, and it didn't. And then when you have your so-called Secretary of State, John Kerry, looking like Lurch up in this piece, going on an Arabic TV show, and not even talking about the war, ladies and gentlemen, not even talking about the invasion, the conflict. This piece of crap wants to talk about climate change and hoping that Putin is on board with fighting climate change. Every geopolitical foe is looking at America right now, and they are licking their chops. They are laughing and giggling behind closed doors. Taiwan is next. South Korea might be next in regards to China going into Taiwan and North Korea going into South Korea, if this aggression, this invasion, and this war that is happening right now with Russia and Ukraine continues to commence without any formidable, and I mean formidable, not this idiotic, we're going to place these sanctions on Russia and we know they're not going to do anything and it's not going to deter Putin. How about bringing down the ego a notch? How about swallowing some humble pie and talk to the Trump administration and see what they did to put these folk in check? Well, as many have stated, and as I was listening to the Megyn Kelly show yesterday, as she stated so eloquently, Trump was unpredictable, which made him who he is and made our geopolitical foes weary. Because you see what he did with Moabs, you see what he did to Iran and taking out Suleiman. The rest of the world took a second look and said, whoa, okay, we don't like his tweets, we don't like how he talks, we don't like how he goes about himself. I said that right, no coffee yet. But guess what? The man is America first, and the man will defend America's interests. And that's what he did. But unfortunately now, ladies and gentlemen, former Vice President Sleepy Joe Biden, who barely knows what day it is, yeah, we're looking to him to somehow bring this conflict between Russia and Ukraine to an end. And as I'm saying it, I'm laughing in my head. And before I hit the record button today, I came up with a meme in my head, and I'm not going to say what it is because I'm going to post it and see what you think. Because it basically sums up the Biden administration. Now, we've all known Putin's aspirations of bringing back the glory days of the USSR. Ukraine is just a part of that. There are many other goals, many other goalposts that he wants to punt, I should say, kick the football through in regards to bringing back the USSR, bringing back those good old days. Some we know about, some we don't know about. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm some geopolitical expert, because I'm not. I just listen and try to attain all the information and knowledge that I could possibly fill up into this brain of mine and bring it to you. But more than likely, ladies and gentlemen, you probably have more knowledge than me. So in the comments section, go ahead and put forth your opinion, what you know, your knowledge in regards to Russia and Ukraine and Putin's goals in regards to bringing back the old USSR. Now, I want to transition, and I hate transitioning. That was a joke. But I do want to talk about trans and the whole trans phenomena. I'm not going to get into the whole discussion, argument of it. There's only two species, male and female. As a Christian, and what God and what Jesus has told me, there's only male and female. And science, ladies and gentlemen, shows and tells me that there's only male and female. You can give yourself whatever pronoun. You can come out and say, I'm transitioning from this to that. Does not matter. Does not matter. But what does matter to me, ladies and gentlemen, is this whole Leah Thomas University of Penn swim team and the sheer lack of balls from the NCAA, the sheer lack of balls from the school districts and school boards and principals and superintendents. Why are they allowing this push of the trans ideology and the LGBTQ ideology on 5-year-olds? Yes, this is happening to 5-year-olds. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you having secret meetings with 13 and 14-year-old girls, pushing them to become LGBTQ or pushing them to be trans? Why are you, what is the end game here? And I'm starting to get a little upset. Let me calm myself down so I can speak eloquently to you, so I can speak to you in a manner that you can understand me. But why, for our young children, ages 5 to 18. Now, granted, upper high school students, at that point in time, I would say, as far as your sexuality, you probably already know where you fall on the spectrum. And I have no problem with that. Do you, okay? But my thing is this. Why are these individuals within our school systems pushing 5-year-olds and above, having secret meetings with these students, trying to coerce these young, impressionable minds to become something that either one, they're not, know that they're not, and doing it behind the backs of their parents? This is happening across America, if you didn't know. If you don't know about it, now you know about it. So I would think you would take a second look into, why is my daughter hanging out at some club I don't know about? Or why is my son having meetings with such and such that I don't know about? You might want to look into it, ladies and gentlemen, and find out the real story as to what's going on. Because this is going on in schools all across the country. I'm just trying to understand this entire concept of trying to coerce individuals, young, impressionable people, to become something that more than likely they're not. What is the end game, ladies and gentlemen? What is the end game? And with CRT, you think just because a whole bunch of parents stepped up, and I'm glad they did, and I hope that they continue to do so. But do you think that's going to deter these school boards, these superintendents, these principals, these teachers who are hell-bent on pushing this nonsense? You better make sure that you are at every school board meeting that you can possibly attend. You better hammer away, not interrogate, but hammer away at your children and make sure, find out, and make sure you are informed of what's going on in their schools. Sitting in the background, playing in the background, sitting on the bench, and all that nonsense. For us who's been at the forefront, vocal and pushing the envelope, we need everyone on board. Whether it's setting up a local chapter for parents, doing whatever you possibly can, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that these schools, the schools that you and I, with our tax dollars, pay for, make sure that they're not indoctrinating our children with anything that we deem inappropriate, that we deem is not applicable to the overall education of our children. Like having science class, but yet we're going to talk about CRT. Having English class, but yet we're going to talk about CRT? Oh, let's have gym class, ladies and gentlemen, and recess. Let's talk about CRT. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have not stepped up, who are sitting on the bench and are looking at me and other individuals, outspoken individuals, your time has come to step up. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound so blunt, and I don't mean to call you out, but the future of our children is at stake. I'm not trying to sound dramatic. I'm not trying to sound apoplectic. Is that the word? Once again, don't have my coffee yet. But our children's futures are at stake. Point blank. End of story. You can no longer sit on the sidelines, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to step up. And as far as stepping up, let me step up and end today's portion of the Dan Adams Show with this. Usually I end it with, may God continue to bless you and yours. May he keep you and your family safe. And until next time, peace. Well, that's all good in the hood. But I want to end it with this. And I'm really hoping that it sinks in. And I really hope that God intervenes and allows what's in my heart to be transferred. So let me say this, and let me say it in a way that everyone can understand. Yours truly, Daniel Clifford Adams, will continue to fight. And I'm hoping, praying, and as I put out this energy, I'm hoping and praying that those out there who have been timid to this point, hoping that I can transfer this energy that I have to hopefully uplift you in a way that will push you out of your comfort zone and allow you to step up and say, enough is enough. Peace.
One of the things that we've heard from Ukrainian officials over the last few hours is, diplomacy is still our first goal here. Preventing further Russian incursion without fighting is our first goal. But if it gets past that, we'll fight for every inch of territory in every city.
And they will.
So how bloody do you think this can get? How much fight do you think the Ukrainians have here?
I think Ukrainians have 150%, 500% fight. I mean, they're going to fight like hell. And actually, they just passed a law in which guns are allowed to be used in freely in Ukraine. So that is a preparation. So if every Ukrainian takes a gun, Russians don't have a prayer. I mean, the military can fight, but it would be Ukrainians, I think, really ready to die. That's why I continue to insist that big incursion, and that's where, once again, from my point of view, diplomacy was wrong. Diplomacy was wrong to say Putin is going to go on Kyiv, because he lost grip on reality, but he's not suicidal. He wants to go in history as a defender of the Russian lands and kind of gather out some degree, but he doesn't want to go into history as the creator of another war, because no Russian, even the most patriotic ones, want to fight right now.
Some of the leadership of well, if you look at the map and you see Hungary and you see how it is encircled, Russia, Belarus, Crimea, which they have taken over but had, it's still a danger now to Ukraine, and then you see Poland and Romania and all of those countries just abutting against Russian influence.
You said you think right now Putin is improvising and adapting, but you've also said that you very much anticipate and predict that he's going to invade further. So which is it? Is he adapting or is he still invading?
Think big here, Peter. He can still be preparing to invade, which we've said, and that continues to be the case, while making adaptations on when, if, how, to what his strategy is. That's what we're seeing. Both are true.
So the authorities will not let the truckers into Washington, D.C. itself. So they're not going to be able to get into the nation's capital. All right, they're going to be stopped. And it's interesting that Pelosi today called for the National Guard to come out and stop the truckers so they interrupt the State of the Union next Tuesday. Isn't that fascinating? She wouldn't do it for January 6th when Trump warned her that the Guard would be needed, wouldn't do it, but now she's doing it for Biden. Isn't that fascinating? So I, on the No Spin News tonight, advised the truckers to put the gear in reverse and truck down to the border. That's where we need them. So COVID mandates, they're pretty much shot now. But the border is still wide open. Those truckers going down there to El Paso and Tucson and Brownsville, that would redraw attention onto this cataclysmic policy from the Biden administration at the border. So that's what I hope they do.
Now, President Trump, thank you for joining us tonight via telephone. You're watching this unfold, your reaction to Putin's threat if any Western nation or any nation intervenes with this Russian military action.
Well, this is something that should have never happened. This would not have happened during my administration. In fact, some people were saying, why didn't this take place over the last 4 years during our administration? And it didn't for a very good reason, and I'll explain that to you someday. But it wouldn't have taken place, and it wouldn't have taken place right now. And it's a very sad thing for the world, for the country, and it's certainly very sad for a lot of people that are going to be needlessly killed.
Well, give us a sense, though. I mean, you know Vladimir Putin. I mean, you've dealt with him. How would you have avoided this conflict? How would you have prevented these series of events from unfolding?
Well, look, I do know him, and I know him very well. We've had many times together. I got along with him fantastically, despite the fact that I shut down Nord Stream 2. Nobody would have heard of Nord Stream 2 if it weren't for me. I'm the one that shut it down. And I'm the one that told Angela, you're doing a terrible thing by doing this. And they were going to get 75%, not 30%, 75% of their energy from Nord Stream 2. It was ridiculous. If you remember, I told you this privately once. I sent them a white flag, a flag of surrender. I gave it to, she said, what does this mean? I said, that means you'll surrender as far as Russia's concerned. They've had a lot of conflicts over the centuries. So I think that it's a terrible thing. The way it started, I really don't believe he wanted to do this initially. I think he wanted to do something and negotiate, and it just got worse and worse. And then he saw the weakness. And, it really started, I think, with the weakness in Afghanistan, the way they pulled out of Afghanistan. I really believe that's where he started thinking, he can do this. Because when he saw how pathetic...
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I'm wondering on the Emergencies Act, the streets in Ottawa are clear today of protesters. I'm wondering, the Emergencies Act talks about an ongoing emergency. When do you feel that this emergency will have ended and allow you to revoke the act?
As I said yesterday, this act was brought in because of an emergency, but it is proportional, it is scalable, it is time-limited and specific. Every day we receive information and briefings and analyze whether it continues to be needed, and we are looking to lift it as soon as possible. That decision will be made at the appropriate moment.
Following up?
Yeah, sir, I'm just wondering if you can be more specific. This is a huge piece of federal legislation meant to be used lightly. What is your threshold for removing it if it's not the clearing of border blockades and the streets in Ottawa?
That is exactly what we are looking at every single day as we analyze reports come in from across the country, as we hear the recommendations and operational issues faced by police agencies across the country and intelligence services. As I said many times, we do not want this Emergencies Act to be in place for a day longer than necessary, and we are looking very carefully every step of the way as to when it can be lifted. It was always reasonable, proportional, entirely subject to Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and specific and time-limited in its application. We continue to reevaluate to see when it will no longer be necessary.
Would you rather have a black female conservative on the Supreme Court or a white male liberal on the Supreme Court?
I would rather have a white male liberal on the court because I think that person would fight for rights that align with women more.
What do you think of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas? Do you believe he's doing a good job?
No. Not at all. No, he's a conservative justice. Everything that happened with Anita Hill during his confirmation, he shouldn't have been confirmed in the first place.
I think he probably should either recuse himself or resign. He involves himself in plenty of cases that he probably shouldn't be.
You're a funny guy.
I think, in my opinion, at my age, it's probably time for him to step down.
Come on, man.
Do you agree with President Biden's pledge to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court?
Do I agree with his pledge to do that? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I also don't necessarily think that means anything at all. Because, we got Clarence Thomas in there, and he's less than impressive.
I think that it's important to nominate a black woman. I do think that she should be a progressive black woman and should align with democratic values.
Bianna, this study is sobering but not at all surprising. We know that school has benefit for children, and therefore when kids are pulled out of school, and also with the uncertainty of not knowing when they're going to go back, that has detrimental impacts, certainly on emotional well-being, on stress, including of the parents and caregivers who now don't know what to do about working at the same time. But also now we see that there are very specific impacts on cognitive development, on motor, and other milestones for children. Also, we see that there are huge disparities in the study, that those parents and families that are the most vulnerable, most disadvantaged, are the ones that are hurt the most. And so at this point, we really need policies that aim to keep children in school. Perhaps, for example, not having quarantine if children are exposed, having test to stay or other programs. And we also need to be attentive to these long-term consequences. Can we work to close these rampant and wide educational disparities?
You and I are both.
Yeah, I hope y'all like y'all's president.
Uh-oh.
Because in a year's time, he screwed the whole nation up. You ain't got it. I told you, I don't care how many blind eyes open if I say something like that. Wasn't my blind eye. I'm out of here. He must be a Republican. It only took that man 1 year to screw the whole country up.
Facts.
A year. Don't be looking at me like, no, our nation's gone backwards. A year ago, you were paying $2 a gallon for gas.
Facts.
Yeah, let's take it where you can relate. And you're paying almost $4 now because of his decisions.
Have y'all seen a lie yet? Let me know in the comment section if you've heard a lie yet. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it's his decisions. 2 million people have crossed our borders from Mexico. Now he getting political. No, kingdom.
Kingdom.
I'm kingdom. Screwed it up. You got, and these people coming in they don't get COVID tests, and they aren't forced to get vaccinated. And they put on airplanes. Read your paper. No, they ain't gonna put this in your paper. They don't report this, but they are flying people who cross the border illegally. Your government is flying them to cities across the United States and putting them up in hotels.
Have you seen a lie yet? Okay.
And paying for them with your money. Only took a year to screw the country up. Just took a year. Just took a year. Yeah, he must be a Trump supporter. No, I believe. Yep. In a year's time, men who say they women are competing on the college level in women's sports. And depriving women who have been working all their lives to be the best woman in their sport the ability to be that, because this man won't be a girl now. A year.
Come on, Pastor.
One.
I want to watch this whole thing.
By introducing the fact that the world is being, Satan has released a spirit of deception. He has released it. Black folks don't like me talking about this.
Come on, talk about it. I want to hear it.
They can't stand it when I talk about it.
When he say this is, I know he going down the right path right here.
It was all I could do when the congressman came here. Now, I told somebody to tell that man, now I'm going to let you speak, but don't you get up here talking about politics. Okay. And I'm going to make sure that the Voting Rights Act is passed. It was all I could do. And the Holy Spirit checked me because I was coming up. I was going to straighten that dude out. That's because you ain't telling folks the truth. This government has people believing that people are deprived of the opportunity to vote.
Come on, Pastor.
Because they're saying these red states is trying to keep our people from voting. Hogwash! You should have identification to vote. You shouldn't just be able to vote without being identified as a citizen and a resident of the area that you live in. It's wrong.